Would you consider yourself happy? Or do you wake up with that quiet whisper, that feeling that somehow you're behind? Behind in your career, behind in your relationships, behind in life itself. You scroll through your phone and there it is. People who seem more successful, more beautiful, more fulfilled than you. And you think, I'm late. I should be further ahead by now. But let me tell you a secret. You cannot be behind in life. Because there is no race, there is no finish line. The very idea that you are behind is an illusion. Yet the illusion feels real, doesn't it? Because from the moment you were born, you were measured, compared, evaluated. Parents asked when you took your first steps, when you spoke your first words, as if your worth was in the timing. In school, you were ranked against others. You were praised when you were ahead and scolded when you were behind. Slowly, you absorbed the idea that life is a ladder and your only purpose is to climb it faster than everyone else. But here is the paradox. When you spend your life climbing, you miss the view all around you. The reason you feel behind is not because you are, but because you've been taught to believe in a story that isn't true. The story that life is a race, that there's a destination you must reach, and that your value depends on how quickly you get there. But tell me, where is this destination? Have you ever met someone who actually arrived, or do you only see people who are still running, still chasing, still comparing? Even those who look ahead of you, they too feel behind someone else. That's the joke. Everyone is running. Nobody knows why. Think about it. If you were the only person on earth, would you feel behind? Of course not. The idea would be meaningless. It only exists when there is someone to compare yourself to. So, the feeling of being behind is not rooted in reality. It is rooted in comparison. And comparison is a trick of the mind. You think you're measuring progress, but in truth, you're measuring illusions. You're measuring shadows. Because no one else's path can ever be yours. Yet the system keeps you running, because if you ever stop, you might realize there was never a race. But here's the curious thing. You don't only compare yourself to others, you compare yourself to an imagined version of yourself. A you that should have achieved more by now. That should be richer, more successful, more enlightened. You invent a phantom and then feel miserable for not catching it. But the phantom always runs faster. The more you chase, the further ahead it seems. So you live in perpetual dissatisfaction because the you are running after doesn't exist. And the you who feels behind, that one is also a story. Both the runner and the race are illusions. Now, let's pause here, because some of you might say, but Allan, if I stop running, won't I fall behind even more? That's the trap, that's the fear. But let me ask you, behind what? Behind whom? There is no universal timetable. Flowers bloom at different times. Some open in spring, some in summer, some not until autumn. Would you say the autumn flower is late? Of course not. It blooms when it is ready, and so do you. You are not behind. You are unfolding at the rhythm of your own being. But you cannot see this if you're always sprinting. The truth is, the obsession with progress blinds you to the miracle of simply being alive. You don't notice the taste of food, the sound of the wind, or the beauty of faces around you because your mind is occupied with the thought, I should be further by now. Life becomes a checklist instead of an experience. You tick boxes, school, job, marriage, house, but never ask, what am I running toward? You are running for the sake of running. And that's why you always feel behind. Because you cannot win a race that has no finish line. Society, of course, encourages this. Because a population that always feels behind is a population that always buys, always strives, always obeys. The economy thrives on your dissatisfaction. If you felt complete, entire, whole as you are, you would not be such a good consumer. You would not need endless courses, products, promotions, or status symbols. You would live simply. And simplicity does not make for great profits. So you are taught to run faster, to compare more, to feel less than. Not because it's true, but because it keeps the wheel turning. But let me tell you, freedom begins when you stop running. When you drop out of the race, when you realize that life is not a competition but a dance. A dance has no finish line. It has no winners or losers. You don't dance to reach the end. You dance for the joy of moving. And in the same way, life is meant to be lived, not won. The only time you feel behind is when you mistake life for a race. But once you see it as a dance, every step is exactly where it should be. So the next time you feel behind, I invite you to pause, to breathe, to notice that there is no stopwatch above your head, no scoreboard in the sky. The earth does not care how quickly you walk. The trees do not hurry to grow. The ocean does not rush to reach the shore. The stars are not in competition. They simply shine, and you too are meant to shine. Not at someone else's pace, not according to someone else's path, but in your own way, in your own time. And when you see this, the illusion of being behind dissolves. You see, the funny thing about always feeling behind is that it assumes there is some great clock ticking away in the universe, a cosmic schedule, and you are late. But there is no such clock. The stars are not glancing at their watches. The sun does not apologize for setting a second later than yesterday. The river does not wonder whether it flows quickly enough. These are human inventions, time as a race, life as a schedule. Nature does not operate this way. Nature unfolds, it does not hurry. And you too are nature. You are not late. Now, many of you will protest. You'll say, but Allan, I have deadlines, I have responsibilities, I must keep up. And yes, in practical affairs, we make schedules to coordinate with others. There is nothing wrong with that. But don't confuse the practical with the existential. Don't confuse catching a bus at 9 o'clock with your place in life. For when you confuse the two, you begin to believe that your soul itself is running out of time. And then you are anxious, restless, perpetually unsatisfied. The bus schedule has nothing to do with the journey of your being. Why then do you always feel behind? Because you measure your life against the lives of others and against the expectations of society. You think, by this age, I should have achieved that. By now, I should be this kind of person. But these timelines are inventions. They are stories, not truths. And the moment you believe them, you trap yourself. You wake up every morning with a burden that is entirely imaginary. The truth is, nobody knows how life should unfold. Nobody. Not your parents, not your teachers, not your leaders. We are all improvising. Look around you. You will notice that some people bloom early in life. They know exactly what they want at 15, and by 25, they seem ahead. Others take decades wandering, experimenting, failing, and learning. And sometimes it is those who wandered who end up discovering the deepest treasures. But if they believed they were behind, they might have given up before the treasure appeared. So you see, feeling behind is not only painful, it can rob you of your destiny. It can blind you to the unique unfolding of your path. The flower that blooms last is no less beautiful. And let's consider this. Even those who look ahead often do not feel it. They look at someone else, and they too feel behind. The executive envies the artist envies the monk envies the peasant, and so on it goes. Everyone thinks they are missing something. Everyone believes someone else is closer to the goal. But there is no goal. There is no finish line. Life is not a race to be won, but a mystery to be experienced. The only way to fall behind is to believe there was somewhere else you should be. But here lies the key. The only moment that ever exists is now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not the past you regret, only now. And in this now, how can you be behind? You are here. Fully, completely here. The idea that you should be somewhere else is just thought, a thought that floats across the mind like a cloud. If you stop believing it, the cloud passes and the sky of your being is clear again. Happiness is not in arriving. Happiness is in realizing there was never anywhere to arrive. You are already home. And perhaps the greatest joke of all is that when you stop running, life gives you what you were chasing. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you discover your worth. When you stop chasing love, you find it flowing toward you. When you stop grasping for success, you notice opportunities everywhere. Why? Because you are no longer blinded by the belief that you are behind. You are present. You are alive. You are awake. And from that presence, life opens like a flower. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stepped out of your own way. But let's be clear. I am not telling you to do nothing. I am not suggesting laziness. Action is part of life. Movement is part of being. But action does not have to come from fear of being behind. It can come from joy, from curiosity, from love. The dancer moves not because she must reach the end of the song, but because the music invites her. In the same way, you can live not because you must catch up, but because life invites you to play. And when you live this way, you do not feel behind you, feel alive. Now ask yourself this: how much of your suffering comes not from what is happening, but from the story in your head that you are late? You sit in traffic and think, I am losing time. But what time are you losing? The only time you ever have is now, and here you are, alive. The suffering is not in the traffic, it is in the thought that you should already be somewhere else. But what if you trusted that where you are is exactly where you are meant to be? Suddenly the suffering dissolves. You are not behind. And so the truth begins to reveal itself. You are not in a race, you are in a dance. You are not measured by speed or comparison. You are measured by nothing at all. Because you are not a number on a chart, you are a mystery of the universe, unfolding in its own time. And when you realize this, you laugh. You laugh at the absurdity of ever thinking you were behind. Because behind, compared to what? Compared to whom? You cannot be late to your own life. You are always, always right on time. When you see life as a race, you live in constant fear. Fear that you are losing, fear that you are falling behind, fear that you will never make it. But tell me, what is it that you think you are losing? Do you think that at the end of your life there will be a scoreboard? Do you think the universe will tally up your achievements and declare whether you passed or failed? No. At the end, there will only be one question. Did you live? And living has nothing to do with being ahead or behind. This obsession with progress is deeply cultural. Our society tells us to always strive, to always move forward, to never rest. But this is a sickness, for in your striving, you forget how to be. You forget that life is not something you reach, but something you feel. The man who spends his whole life running to catch up with some ideal of success may die having never truly lived a single moment, because his eyes were always on the horizon, never on the ground beneath his feet. And what a tragedy to miss the present in pursuit of the future. Now imagine this. Suppose a piece of music existed only for its finale. Suppose the only point of a symphony was the last crashing note. You would never listen to music, would you? Because the joy is in the unfolding, in the rhythm, in the melody. Life is exactly like that. Its purpose is not in reaching the end, but in the dance along the way. Yet many people treat their lives as though they are enduring a performance, waiting desperately for the grand finale. They forget to hear the music, and then they wonder why they always feel behind. You see, you cannot be late to a song. The moment you hear it, you are part of it, and life is the same. The moment you awaken to this now, you are exactly where you should be. Even your past mistakes, even your delays, even the so-called wasted years, they are part of the melody. They give the song its shape. And once you understand that, you can stop blaming yourself for being behind. There is no behind. There is only your unique rhythm, your particular dance. And when you let yourself hear it, you are free. Of course, there are those who will resist this truth. They will say, but Allan, if I stop pushing, if I stop trying to catch up, I will fall into laziness. I will do nothing at all. But this fear is itself a symptom of being trapped in the race. For life has its own energy, its own flow. When you stop forcing yourself, you do not collapse. You come alive. You notice the things that truly matter to you. You act not out of pressure, but out of passion. And passion is far more powerful than fear. Think of the way a child plays. Nobody tells them to be efficient, to hurry up, to finish the game faster. They play for the sake of playing. And yet in their play, they learn, they grow, they discover. This is the natural way of life. To do things because they are alive in you, not because you are terrified of being left behind, but somewhere along the way we adults forgot this. We replaced play with pressure, curiosity with competition. And now we wonder why our lives feel heavy, why we feel like we are always late. So let me ask you again, who says you are behind? Is it your parents, your culture, your inner critic? Whoever it is, notice that it is only a voice that speaks from fear, not truth. And you have been listening to it so long that you mistake it for reality. But the moment you stop listening, a new freedom opens. Suddenly, you are no longer racing. Suddenly, you realize the finish line does not exist, and you can breathe again. You can actually feel the ground beneath your feet, and that is where life begins. But there is another trick here. The very idea of being behind assumes that life is linear, that it is a straight road with milestones along the way, but life is not a road. Life is more like a vast ocean or a forest. There are countless paths, countless directions, countless ways to move. Some are quick, some are slow, some are winding, some are straight, but there is no one path, and therefore there is no ahead or behind, only your particular way, only your unique unfolding, and that is not a mistake, it is the very point. So, here is the secret. The only time you feel behind is when you are looking at someone else's path, when you are comparing your forest trail to theirs, your wave in the ocean to theirs. But if you only looked at your own feet, at your own wave, the idea of being behind would vanish. You would see that your life is moving exactly as it must. You would see that every delay, every detour is part of the richness of your journey. And you would stop hurrying, because you would see that you were never late. So the question is not, how do I catch up? The question is, can I stop running? Can I trust that I am already where I need to be? If you can, then the anxiety dissolves. Then you can laugh again. Then you can dance with life instead of racing through it. And you will notice something strange when you stop trying to be ahead. You actually go deeper. You discover things that the racers never see. You taste the fruit along the path. You hear the birdsong. You live. And isn't that the only thing you ever wanted? So imagine this. Imagine you woke up tomorrow morning and discovered there was nothing to prove. No race to win, no standard to meet, no one ahead of you, no one behind you. Just you, here, alive. Can you feel the relief in that thought? Can you sense how much lighter your chest becomes when you realize that you are not in competition, that nobody is keeping score? Suddenly there is space. Suddenly you can breathe. And suddenly you can begin to live in a way that is natural, not forced. This is not laziness. This is not giving up. On the contrary, this is the beginning of true living. When you stop racing, you begin to notice what really matters to you. You discover passions that were drowned out by the noise of comparison. You find joy in things that seemed unimportant when you were measuring yourself against others. And these joys, these passions, are the things that actually give your life meaning. They are the flowers along the path. But you cannot see them if your eyes are always fixed on the finish line. But here's the paradox. When you stop trying to be ahead, you often end up doing more and doing it better, because your energy is no longer wasted on anxiety, it is directed into the moment. You act with presence, with clarity. You are not scattered by fear, but focused by love. And love always creates better things than fear. Think of the great works of art, the great discoveries, the great acts of kindness. They did not come from people racing to stay ahead. They came from people who were immersed in the moment, giving themselves fully to it. So the next time you feel behind, pause. Ask yourself, behind whom? Behind what? And if you look closely, you will see that the answer is always an illusion. You are behind nobody, because there is nobody else living your life. You are behind nothing, because there is no universal clock ticking. There is only this moment, unfolding, and you are in it. And the moment you realize that, the anxiety begins to dissolve. Because you cannot be late to your own life. It begins the instant you notice it. Now, let me leave you with a story. Imagine two men climbing a mountain. One is racing to the top, eyes fixed only on reaching it. He is exhausted, panicked, desperate to arrive before anyone else. The other walks slowly, pausing to rest, pausing to look at the valley, pausing to enjoy the air. Which man is behind? You might say the second, because he arrives at the top later. But ask yourself, who truly experienced the mountain? Who truly lived? The one who rushed, or the one who breathed? The answer, I think, is obvious. So the question is not whether you are behind. The question is, are you alive? Are you awake to this moment? Or are you running so fast that life itself is passing you by? If you stop running, you will see something extraordinary. You were never behind at all. You were simply listening to the wrong story. And the moment you drop that story, a new one begins. A story not of racing, not of chasing, but of living. And that story has no pressure, no scoreboard, no finish line. It has only you, here, alive. You may think this is difficult, but in truth it is the simplest thing. You do not have to try to stop racing. You only have to notice that you are racing. Noticing is enough. Because when you notice, you step outside the race. You see it for what it is, a game you were playing without realizing it. And once you see it, you no longer take it so seriously. You may still run, you may still work, you may still strive. But now you are playing, not racing. And play is always lighter than pressure. So my invitation to you is this: stop measuring your life. Stop comparing your timeline to others. Stop asking whether you are behind. Instead, ask whether you are awake. Ask whether you are breathing. Ask whether you are living. If you are, then you are right on time. And if you are not, then the moment you awaken, the moment you notice, you are caught up instantly. Because life is not waiting for you at the finish line. It is waiting for you here, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this now. And one last thing. When you finally drop the illusion of being behind, you will notice that others are still trapped in it. They will still run, still compare, still panic. And you may feel tempted to join them, to not fall out of step. But resist that, because the greatest gift you can give to others is your presence. When you live as though you are not behind, you show them that they, too, are free. You remind them that the race was never real. And in that reminder, you may set them free. So the truth is this: you are not behind. You never were. The race was an illusion, the finish line, an invention. You are exactly where you need to be, and you always have been. The question is not whether you are ahead or behind, but whether you are alive. And if you are hearing this now, then you are alive. And that means you are on time, perfectly, beautifully on time. So stop running. Breathe. Look around you. This moment is your life, and it has been waiting for you all along.